really excited to have Amanda as our speaker today. Amanda is an experienced homeschool mom. She's been teaching her kids for over 11 years now, and you have 2 kids, and you're a blogger for the Accelerated Homeschool. And so I just wanted to start off, I was reading your article with River Valley Now that was featured recently, and one of the things that really stuck out was you had mentioned that, homeschooling doesn't have to look like school.
School at home.
You don't have to create a school environment in your home. So if you could kind of just go through like a typical homeschool day, like what that looks like with your children, and like what mistakes maybe you've learned from, and that way we can kind of avoid those.
Sure. Okay, so first let me say everybody's style of homeschool is different. And if you look at anybody's day or anybody's specific way of doing it, it's going to be different. So I'm only speaking about my way. And if you have questions, I can tell you because I have a lot of friends that homeschool as well. So I know kind of how their days go. But let me start out and say I'm what we call an eclectic homeschooler. That means I don't prescribe to one specific philosophy.
Okay.
So we do what feels right for us. And it's changed over the years, and it changes every year, and it's different for my oldest than it is for my youngest. So first off, we do a lot of literature-based learning. So when I say it doesn't have to look like school, there are homeschoolers, and you can do this if that fits you, that you get textbooks and workbooks, and you sit at a table from a certain time to a certain time to a certain time. We, in our homeschool, use what we call living books to learn from. So, for example, my daughter took a class on infectious diseases. Well, we didn't get a textbook on infectious diseases. No, she did watch some lectures and things like that, but the books she read were all actual books written from by immunologists and epidemiologists and things like that. So from experts from their field. When we learn history, we don't turn to a history textbook. We turn to a novel written about the time period, or a historical fiction book, or even just a historical biography. So for us in our homeschool, there's a lot of reading. So when they're young, that means I do a lot of reading aloud. So our morning, what we do is we are not morning people except for Winston. So he gets up before anyone else, and he has his book that he can go and read, and he has to read so many chapters before he can turn on the TV or do anything else. So he gets up and does that. Ansley and I wake up a little later, around 8:30. I'm getting her up. I've been up since about 8. She would sleep all day if I let her, but she's a teenager. So I get them up, we get ready, and around 9:15, we're finally like meeting in our schoolroom. And we come together and we kind of I talk about the day. So I say, if we have anything big planned, or if we have something different, if we have a doctor's appointment, or one of the kids has lessons, or Ansley has an online class, I kind of remind everybody that at this time we have this. So this, for my oldest, I write down a list. She's very independent. She is doing high school work, so she needs to own it. So I write down a list of every day, this and this class, this and this class, this and this class. I don't care how she gets it done or in what order she gets it done, but it has to be completely done by the time Dad gets home at 5. So I want our day to end. I don't want it to drag on forever. She has learned over the years that the more breaks she takes, the longer it drags out. And if she takes all these little breaks, it feels like she's wasted her time that she could be doing other stuff. So she tends to get a lot of it knocked out right away.
I'm just going to jump in and say that, if you're interested to see what those lists look like, Amanda posts those on her Instagram account a lot and on her Facebook and blog. And it's really interesting to see everything that they accomplish in a day. And it also, I've noticed it, you have a really responsible teenager. And so that's giving her accountability and it's taking some weight off of you.
It does.
And I think that's important.
And you can't expect, if this is your first year homeschooling, you can't expect that accountability to be there already. I started the list with her probably when she was 7 years old. I worked through it with her, but I would have a list and we would go through it together. But slowly over the years, she's developed. Now she knows how to do that. So for me, that was important because I knew she needed to develop those skills of time management and getting things done. But I didn't just hand it to her and say, here, go to town.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's a skill we learn in school. It's a skill we learn through life, and it has to be developed. So I guess my main thing I want people to know is that homeschooling is legal in every state. Arkansas is a very easy state to homeschool in. You're gonna buy a curriculum or you're gonna try something and it's not gonna work for you. And it's okay. I mean, I have over the years bought several curriculums that looked great, or I thought this was gonna work great, and we ended up scrapping it after a couple of weeks and I resold it. Or I change a lot of it because I'm not a list follower myself necessarily on, I don't have to get every single assignment that the curriculum says done. Or if it's a paper to write, I don't always assign a paper for Ansley because sometimes she has papers in her other classes due. So I create an assignment that instead of this, do me a poster or give me an iPad give me a presentation on your iPad, something like that. So you don't have to do exactly what they say. Just like in school, I'm sure y'all remember in math, when your teacher said, do every other problem, like do every even problem in the workbook or the textbook. You don't have to do everything, because if you do try to do everything, you will be at it all day in most cases.
Yeah.
The other thing is to stop when leave them wanting more. Okay, so like with Winston, because he's young, especially when they're younger, short lessons are your friend. So we'll do like 15 minutes of math and then we're moving on. Because once they get tired of it, it's just like an exercise, if they're doing a sport or something and they start out and then when they get tired, they get sluggish and things get sloppy. You want them to do their best work. So we kind of stop and move on to something else to keep it fresh. And because of that, he gets a lot done in a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of parents forget that so much of a school day is transitioning classes, going to your locker, having lunch. Like, you're not in school 8 hours.
And most, especially the younger years, through middle school, it's going to take only a few hours to get everything done because you're not waiting for the other kids to finish. You're not, or if your child's not finished, you can leave at the lesson off. You don't have to go through the entire lesson on that day. You can leave it off and pick it back up the next day. You can work at their pace. There's not the transitions. There's not the class changes, the bells ringing. So a lot of times with young kids, you can be done in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they go when the rest of the day they're just doing nothing. That afternoon time, we do a lot in the morning, and that afternoon time we're baking or we're doing art or we're practicing our music. We're playing, but we're playing a lot. We do a lot of educational board games. So to them, they're not doing school anymore. They're not, but they're still learning things. So, they're learning when they're baking with me. They're learning chores when I have them help out around the house. I had Ansley help me stack wood the other day. She's like, why do I ever need to learn this? Like, well, if you have a fireplace when you grow up in your house, she's like, I'll pay someone. I said, okay, well, you still have to help.
So, learning at your house takes place kind of anywhere. Do you have a designated space that you do homeschooling?
And I have lived in places where we haven't, and I've lived in places where we have. I'm actually in our homeschool room right now. This is table by the window, and I'm sitting at a desk right now. And for us, the nice thing about having a homeschool room is all my stuff is in one place.
Okay.
That's mainly what I use it for. You'll find Ansley most of the time isn't even in our homeschool room. She is in her room on her loft bed and does her work in her room most of the time. Winston's in it a lot just because I have a table that he and I sit at. But we'll also be in the kitchen. We'll be on my bed reading. We'll be in the living room. In the winter, we'll be in front of the fireplace. So, a lot of people, if you have room, great. It makes it easier to know I'm going to go into the schoolroom and get this book, and I know exactly where it is. A lot of people have one of the rolly carts, and it's, they do it at their dining room table, and that is just fine. I've done that too before. Because, we've lived all over. And so I've had all different types of spaces.
That's good to know. And I really like the rolling cart idea because a lot of people are like, I'm homeschooling. I have to have this designated desk for them and all these supplies and stuff.
Are awesome. I have friends that have one for each child. And in each one, they might be a different color or they just put their name on it. All their supplies, their notebooks, their, crayons or pencils, and all their curriculum and workbooks are all in that one rolly cart for each child.
Awesome.
There's so many different ways to do it. And for me, I have to be organized, and I'm a planner.
Yeah.
Having the space is definitely not a must for me, but it is relieves stress off of me. So. When we were house hunting, that was we have to have a designated space. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned that, sometimes it takes just 2 hours to go through all that you need to get through that day. For the parents that are doing virtual learning or they're homeschooling, but they're also working from home, do you have any advice for them?
Yes. So I used to teach violin from home. I recently quit because I wanted to spend more time with my kids and focus on my art business. But setting a designated time that you are going to be available for your child is really important. That time doesn't have to be during normal school time. So I have people that I know that homeschool in the evenings.
Okay.
And work done in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
People who have different schedules, and so their weekend might be Tuesday and Wednesday, and they homeschool Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So you don't have to follow this traditional school starts at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning type thing.
Right.
So it's what works for your family. It also depends a lot on the age of your child, of course, because the older they are, the more independent they are for the most part. So if you have an older child, you can assign them their work and meet with them in the morning or whenever, and then meet with them again in the afternoon or the evening, go over what they did, make sure they didn't have any questions. Ansley and I sit down because she's my teen. We sit down at the beginning of the year and discuss goals. of what do you want to achieve this year? What are you hoping to get out of your education this year? Because for me as a homeschooler, it's important for my children to own their education. I want them to love learning. So we do a lot of hands-on projects, a lot of hands-on activities when they're younger. As they get older, I want that love of learning to translate into what things do you want to study? What goals do you have? And how can I help you get there?
Right.
And so we meet at the beginning. We're actually going to do that this weekend. She and I have Dad takes Winston and we hang out and talk, and we talk about her goals. And then throughout the year, I check in with her. How is this working for you? And I do this even with Winston, and he just turned 6. Is there anything you really don't like that we're doing? Mm-hmm. Is there anything you love that we're doing? Is there anything you wish we did more of? Because I want them to feel like they have a voice in what we do.
And I know a lot of your curriculum for Ansley is really based off of things that interest her and her goals down the road to be a neurologist. Is that right?
A neurosurgeon.
Okay. Because she's taking classes that I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. So I have bought curriculum for my kids, and then I have designed my own curriculum for my kids. So with her, as she's gotten older, the things she's interested in and the things she wants to take, like the infectious disease course that she took, you don't find that in a high school course. Yeah. So that's on me to design. I don't recommend that starting out.
Yeah.
You'll lose your mind. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Some years under your belt before you say, let me design a course.
Now, I know you've lived in other places. Moving to Arkansas and specifically the River Valley, has there been any obstacles or things that have been kind of a challenge that are like more specific for our area? Or do you think that anybody can
Anybody can homeschool here. It's Arkansas is very easy. One of the easier states to homeschool and has less regulation. You file a notice of intent to homeschool with your online. It used to be that your first year you had to file it with your district, but in person. But now you actually, even your first year, you can file it online. When you file it online, they send it to your district. So that's it. You fill out your child's name, their birthday, your name, your age, their age, that kind of thing. And that's it. You used to have to test in Arkansas for homeschooling. You used to have to do standardized testing. That is out. You don't have to do that anymore. So just once a year, you fill in the notice of intent to homeschool. And that is it in Arkansas. There are programs that you can use. A lot of people, it is debated in the homeschool community whether using like a public school at home, like K-12 or Arkansas Virtual Academy, whether that is homeschooling. You'll have people that say you're homeschooling because you're doing a lot of it as a parent at home, and then you have some homeschoolers that are very staunch and traditional and like, no, because you're not choosing your public school at home. But a lot of the same things apply though, even if you're doing that, of setting up your day or how you're going to do your day, or of helping your kids manage their time.
Right.
So if you choose that option, like a K-12 or Arkansas Virtual Academy, you do not have to file a notice of intent to homeschool because you are not by the state considered a homeschooler. This year we actually went with a program out of Deer and Mount Judea district. They have a new program just within the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years, where they are partnering with homeschoolers. and letting you choose your own curriculum, letting you teach your way, but you're registered under them. So this year I didn't file a notice of intent because of that. For me, I was very comfortable with that because in Alaska, that is how most people homeschool. In Alaska, there was the option of homeschooling privately, which is what most people do here, or homeschooling through a school district, which they give you money to pay for your curriculum. You test once a year there, you turn in grades, and you're under them. Here, that's a newer thing that they're doing. It helps the smaller school districts because they get money for your child, and then they turn around and give you part of that money to use for your child. So that's been new for us this year. So it'll be the first time with us doing that. And then, let's see. I think there's another school district that's going to start doing that next year. So it might be becoming something that's more popular here. It might become that like it is in Alaska. However, some people feel like they're giving up their freedom to do that because most of those school districts will only pay for secular curriculum. They will not pay. So in the homeschool world, you have secular and you have religious curriculum.
Right.
And so because they are a public school district, they will only pay for secular curriculum. So that's, something to keep in mind if you do to go with a program like them.
Okay. And what kind of advice would you have for parents who are not starting the school year out in a virtual or homeschooling option, but we don't know what's going to happen in the months or weeks to come, and they find themselves suddenly in that situation? What kind of advice do you have for them?
One, if you ever decide in the middle of the year in Arkansas that you do want to pull your child from either virtual learning through their school district or or if they're in person, you can pull your child. You can file the notice of intent. You have a 2-week waiting period if you file once the school year has started. That waiting period means they continue through their normal way of going to school, either in person or virtual, unless the superintendent waives that waiting period. So some superintendents will waive it and you can start immediately.
Okay, that's good to know.
So that is something, so it's not like whatever decision I make is set in stone right now. It's okay. Also, my heart goes out to everybody because I'm worried that we're going to start school and come winter or something like that, parents are going to have like a 1-day notice of, and your kids are home. Then what? And so everyone's going to be scrambling. And honestly, don't worry about your kid falling behind right now because every kid is in the same boat and every parent is in the same boat. So, even if the kids are in school in person this year, it's going to be different. So yeah. Give yourself some grace. It's going to be okay. I think that's my main takeaway. It's going to be okay. Give yourself some grace and don't feel like your kid has to know everything right now. Things circle around and you hit it again a lot of times in another grade, or they go on to, the kids going to school this year, the teachers are going to be going back over what would have been learned last year.
Yeah. Good advice.
I see Alyssa is asking, how do I exercise with my kids and how do I keep them physically active? So we do a lot of, when it's not super hot, like right now, but in the fall, winter, and spring, we do a lot of bike rides. So we have a trampoline, and we will do some school, and then we take a break, and I say, go outside and jump on the trampoline. And Winston will go out and he'll jump on the trampoline. We'll run around. He does karate after school. Right now we're doing it by virtually by Zoom meetings, because even though they've started back in person, with his immune system, I don't feel comfortable with him being in person yet. This is actually the most well he's stayed ever in his life. He has not been sick since March, knock on wood, which for him, he's usually sick once a month at least. So this has been a huge thing. So we do that twice a week. Ansley and I will do walks. We do like exercise videos off of Amazon together. Things like that. If you make it a priority, just like in your regular life, then it becomes a priority in your homeschool. I want my kids to be active, and Winston never sits still. And Ansley is much more calm and introverted, and she would rather be in her room writing or reading, and I do have to push her more to get out, but that's just her personality. So,
Question, Alyssa.
Yeah, that was a very good question. So I'll say it's homeschool PE. Like we go for a hike, and if I post the picture on Instagram, I'm like, homeschool PE, or Winston's golf lesson, homeschool PE. I'm counting it. So
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Well, I know that your children are kind of very advanced for their age. Do you think that any child can homeschool or learn at home? What about our special needs children or people who struggle in certain subjects?
Yes. So I have friends who homeschool and am active in many homeschool communities. Across the board, there are kids, from kids with special needs to kids that are profoundly gifted. And so, yes, anyone can homeschool. That's the beauty of homeschooling, is you get to follow your child's lead. So for my kids, that means following them as they're advanced and following them. For other kids, it means if math is hard, if they have not dyslexia. Yeah,
okay.
Math. It's called dyscalculus or something like that. My brain is not working right now. If they have that, then you spend more time. You're able to tailor your time to what they need more help on. You're able to know, okay, they learn better hands-on, like they learn better math hands-on. Then you can do more hands-on math. So yes, if homeschooling is great for special needs. Homeschooling is great for if you're right across the board, where I would say right on grade level. And homeschooling is great for gifted kids.
Great, good to know. Does anybody have any questions before we kind of wrap up with the last few questions? I'll give everybody a chance. If you can find the chat button, I know it looks like everybody's muted. I'm gonna see if I can unmute some people and see if they got anything to ask. We wanted this to kind of be like a real-time Q&A type thing at the end, just if anybody was joining and they had some additional information that they wanted.
Yeah, feel free to ask. Don't be shy, because I will try to answer.
I have a question, Alyssa. So I have wondered, are there any, of course, there are probably so many apps out there, but are there any great websites that you have held on to that you have used frequently, and maybe apps as well? Because I'd like to set up while I'm busy doing whatever I need to do. And if I need a filler, have something that would be available like that.
What age and grade level are your kids?
Okay, so I have a 10-year-old. He's almost 11, so he'll be in 5th grade. And the other child will be in 1st grade.
Okay.
He's 7.
Yeah. So for the 1st grader, I love Math Seeds and Reading Eggs.
Math Seeds. Okay.
Math Seeds and Reading Eggs.
Okay.
It's all under the Reading Egg. It can be on the computer or in an app on your on the iPad.
Okay.
Probably other devices as well. They go through, there's lessons, there's games, they earn little golden eggs that they can trade in and decorate their little house and decorate their character.
Okay.
Same thing with math, it does the same thing. So there's lessons and then you answer the questions. It's a lot of fun. My kids have loved it.
Okay.
Another app and website I recommend for first graders is Starfall.
Oh, yes. Okay. I know that one.
It goes up through, trying to remember, I want to say second or third grade, some of their math on there. So that's a lot of fun. Let me think. I just got Winston. What app did I get him? I just got him Prodigy.
Oh, yes, we know Prodigy. Okay.
That's great. For the older kid, for your son, you said he's in 5th grade?
Yes, ma'am.
So apps for them, I kind of go when they're getting older like that, what are they interested in?
Okay.
So for my daughter at that time, it was biology. So we got a app that you can dissect different animals.
Okay.
And so there's I try to look for an educational app. She's interested in sign language, so I picked up sign language apps.
Okay.
So when they're that age, Duolingo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, is great. Duolingo. It's a great resource for foreign language. And it's something you can have them do on their own during that time, especially for a older child.
All right. Sounds awesome.
So it's a lot of fun. Explore, I've typed in
Oh. Okay. I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, no problem. Does anyone else have any questions?
Harley, I think your internet connection isn't great. If you can ask your, can you hear me?
See if I can find a better spot.
No, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was trying to get away from the crying baby. Sorry. Because he's loud. So I have a first grader, and I'm finding a lot of information on like things to do for reading and math and those things. But what about things for like science? Because that's something that she's interested in, but not something that I can find information about.
Yeah, and that is definitely there's not a lot of like apps for science and things like that for that age. My daughter was the same way. She's very interested in science from day one. I liked for workbooks, I liked the Evan Moore. Hold on, let me grab one.
You can watch with me, bud.
Who is that?
Daily Science. So this is a fun little workbook that we use. You can actually get it off of Amazon. Plus, let's see, Zulily has them a lot of times on sale too. Inside, you'll see it has a question, and each day it has the beginning of the week, it has the big idea, and it tells you, and at the end it has little experiments you can do, like, so when the plant is, you're talking about parts of a plant, at the end of the week, it's get like celery and put different food colorings and watch it go up the veins, the water that is different colored. So that's a lot of fun. We do those because it's really simple. For us, for science, when they're little, we do a lot of what we call nature study. So we get a bird feeder. We have it right outside of our schoolroom window. We have different books on the different type of birds, and we do a lot of observation. We go for a walk and we find different mushrooms. We have a field guide of mushrooms, and we find out what are these. What are their uses? When we lived in Alaska, we did a lot of what, because of the native Alaskans there, we would find out what the medicinal uses and traditional uses of the plants were. And that also is great for science because it hones their observation skills. So they get really good at looking at the details, which is important in schoolwork, but also in, for future science careers. Then there's science like Real Science Odyssey. That's what I'm using this year for Winston. It's a great curriculum. I don't have it in yet, but I have friends that have used it and I've looked at it a lot. It has books that you can get to go along with it. We're supplementing with, it has a reading list in it that recommends, like, okay, we're talking about mammals. These are some books that you can read about mammals, type thing to go along with it. And then I also, for the younger years like that, first, second grade, like Blossom and Root. They have a really good science that is book-based, so literature-based. You're reading different stories, a lot of them that our library has. And then you're doing activities that they recommend and suggest. And their program's great because they give you basically the bare bones. And they're like, for those who want just the bare bones, do this. For those that want more to read, here's this. For those who want to watch videos, here are these links. For those who want to do a craft, here's a craft to do with it. So you can kind of take that as far as you want or as little as you want. And that's Blossom and Root.
And I just want to piggyback on what she said about the library having several resources. If there's something you're looking for and we do not have, please contact us and let us know what we need to be purchasing or how we can better serve you, because that's going to be a real big thing this school year. How can we help the homeschool community, and what do we need to add to our book orders, or what resources do we need to get? Does anybody else have a question for Amanda?
I do. This is Allie.
Yeah.
I have two questions for you, Amanda. I was wondering if there is just a generic placement test online that is not tied to a curriculum, because we want to be able to build our own from different places. And so, but we do not want to have to start on actual grade level. We want to start with where they are.
Right. Okay, so I love the placement test. My mom's school used to use it, which is where I first heard about it, but it's available to families by them on their own. It's called Let's Go Learn, is the website, and the test, there is a reading placement test and a math placement test, and basically it doesn't say, it will tell in this part of math, they're on this grade level. On this skill set, they're on this level. This is their weakness. This is their strength. And it will even give things to work on, like and ideas of how you can strengthen, say, word fluency, if that is something on the reading portion that they're weaker on. The math portion is called the DOMA, D-O-M-A test, and the reading portion is called the DORA, D-O-R-A test, and that's on the Let's Go Learn.com website. And I want to say they're $25 each, and they're not tied to any particular curriculum. If you do decide for any math that you do, I do recommend taking the placement test for that math curriculum, whatever you're kind of deciding on, for the sheer fact that each math curriculum tends to cover things in a different order. So, if you're using Singapore math, or you're using Beast Academy, or you're using teaching textbooks, do their actual assessment that they have on their website. But for just a general, where is my child at? And also, I used to have Ansley take those every year. just so I could see how she was progressing. The Dora and the Doma test from Let's Go Learn.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my second question is, do you have any tools to be a good learner or to be open to learning? Because we're coming straight out of public school. I have a student that was going into 6th grade, and then I have a student that was in a self-contained classroom. And so we are going to be stepping out of that imposition of will, you know, that you're going to do what I say because I said it. And so we want to make sure that we have the tools to be a good learner. And I feel like that's really going to we're going to have to start at a solid foundation or building that foundation.
And you're absolutely correct, because that is, if you try to impose your will, say just like, I'm the teacher now, so you need to do this, it's not going to work, because while you're the teacher, you're also mom. And they know your buttons, which ones to push, way more than they know the teacher's buttons to push, and they will push them. But I would say a lot of what you'll hear if you were to Google that question is you would hear to de-school, and that's a really weird saying. De-school, though, is basically taking a break from necessarily completely organized learning. So you're still learning, you're still doing fun stuff, but you're learning more in a fun way. You're not necessarily sitting down at a desk and immediately starting on curriculum. They say for every year you're in school or in public school system or in a traditional school system, 1 month of deschooling and letting your kids just get used to learning for learning's sake, so to speak. A lot of people don't have that option, though, because they want to homeschool this year and they're not sure if they're going to homeschool the next year, because they're going to put their kids back in. So they want to make sure their kids stay right on task. And so if that's the case, then, taking 6 months off just to hang out and, get to know your passions isn't going to work. So in that case, especially with your older one going into 6th grade, I would sit down with them and say, hey, so this is what we're doing and this is why, and what do you want to do this year? Like, name me one fun thing you want to do this year, and name me one thing you want to learn about this year. And then I would let that kind of lead you on what kind of curriculum you choose, but also, if they decide they want to learn about sharks or they want to learn about Minecraft even, like, that's okay. That can be a learning situation. And I would incorporate that into a time that y'all spend together learning. So, also model learning. So when we have our time in the afternoon where we're reading, and I want my kids to, put down screens or whatever, I'm like, okay, get a book. We all climb into my bed and we all have our own book, and I'm reading at the same time, so that I'm modeling that I'm learning too. And I say sometimes, Winston will ask me a question. I don't know. Let's find that out. Let's Google. I actually have no clue why that is the way it is. So I get a lot of those. Why is? I don't know. So let's find what tools we can use to find that question out. So modeling a life of learning. And also, when you start out, and it's really hard not to try to make everything a lesson. Okay, so we're making cookies. What is 1/4? And now I need to double it. So what is? I'm guilty of that. And that's great sometimes, but other times, if they see that every single thing y'all do together is going to be a lesson, they're going to shy away from wanting to do anything.
points. I think we're just going to wrap it up and kind of end on a little bit of advice for support for moms, dads, grandparents who are homeschooling or virtual learning. You had mentioned looking at other people's curriculum books and talking to other homeschool moms. How can someone reach out to you, or is there a group of homeschool parents?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as me, Amanda Smoll. It's actually Amanda McDowell Smoll if you look me up. And if I'm also on Facebook at, I think you've shared my Accelerated Homeschooling page. I'm also on Instagram under that same handle, Accelerated Homeschooling. There are 2 co-ops here in Pope County. So a co-op is a cooperative learning environment, basically. They will get together, they have field trips, they have parties, they have classes that meet once a week. It's not a drop-off. The parents are responsible for doing part of it, being there with your child. Both of the ones here in our area are religious and do require a signature on a statement of faith, which does exclude, people who don't necessarily meet those requirements that they put in. Online is another great spot, and that's where I have had my best luck finding a community. For myself, while we are Christians, we homeschool secularly. We don't use religious curriculum. I also have 2 exceptionally gifted kids, so that puts us in a different situation homeschooling. So most of my community that I have they're from all over the US or the world, that I have found in Facebook groups. Pretty much if there's a curriculum you're looking at, there is a Facebook group for it. If you are special needs homeschooling, you can probably find a special needs homeschooling group specific to your child's special needs. I mean, they're out there. I have one that's for my daughter. She's radically accelerated is what we call it. And there is a private Facebook group for parents who do that. And the other day I was having an issue with the AP testing because of her age, and I reached out to them because I knew somebody in that group wouldn't have the answer to my question and would have dealt with it before. So, having a community like that is invaluable. And the 2 co-ops here in town, they both offer different things. People can be members of one, none, or both. One is, Reach and Arch are their 2 names. And I can link their websites on the event of this if you'd like me to. So anybody who wants to do that can reach out to them.
Okay, great.
I know they are doing some things this year. I think some of their classes might be virtual, but they are still meeting and things like that.
I just think that would be a real asset to parents, is a support system. And so check out Facebook groups, your local co-ops, and then reach out to Amanda if you have any problems, questions, or just looking for a friend.
And if I see that you have friends in common with me or you live in the area, I'll add you. I added Allie, she friended me. And so I was like, oh yeah, okay, homeschooling,
So thank you guys for tuning in or watching this later. We're recording it. Hopefully we don't have any problems uploading it. Our next one for Homeschool Helpers is going to be Monday at 7 p.m. and we're going to have Meredith from the River Valley Learning Alliance, Adult Learning Alliance, and then Tuesday we're meeting with Sherry Bowley from A Gentle Journey. And she's a child play therapist. She's going to be talking about anxiety and everything with COVID. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem. And if anyone has any questions, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.